Dream. Don't we all want to be in America and achieving great things? Yeah, we want. Yes, we desire. Some people have been there and done that. Welcome to Book Talk today, and this is your host Anthony Morore. And today we have a guest with us who is gonna tell us about a book, Underground, a memoir of hope, faith, and the American dream. His name is Deji Ayoade, and I would like you to join me as we go together and meet Deji. So, here we go. Hi, Deji.
Hey, Tony, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Welcome to Book Talk.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to have you here, and we are looking forward to hearing about your book.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
but
I'm
before
ready.
you go there, I would like to know about Deji. Who is Deji? And he's actually Dr. Deji Ayoade. And I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Yes, you did. That's pretty good for yeah, yeah, for the first that that's pretty good. Yes, you
Yeah.
did.
So, where are you from?
So I'm originally from Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
Lagos actually, but now I live in DC area in the US.
Okay. And how long have you been there?
Well, I'm in DC or in the US.
In the US.
I'm in the US for so it'll be 15 years this year.
Okay, because we are talking about the American dream, and everybody out there in the other continents are always looking forward to be in the US to experience great things like you've experienced. And we're going to find out in a short while the things that you've experienced there, even as we talk about your book. How was it landing in the US for the very first time?
How I put it? So when I came to the United States in 2008, it was. I remember I left Nigeria on U.S. Independence Day, 4th of July, 2008. So I arrived here in the morning of was it morning? Well, it was on the 5th of July,
Mm-hmm.
and through Logan Airport. I came here on part scholarship to attend Brandeis University for a graduate program. So I think just like most people, the culture shock, trying to just assimilate and kind of just take it all in, being in the US, always thinking about coming to the United States and finally being in the United States and, you know, trying to see what will happen next. I mean, I came here primarily for academics then. At least that was in my mind, but I had other plans, of course. But it was good. It was interesting, but I do remember that when I stepped off the plane, though, I told myself uh, that I promised myself that this is the land where I'll make sure my dreams come true.
Mm. And I believe, as I can look at your profile and see that, yes, you've achieved the American dream that many dream to go and accomplish.
Well, the dream continues, right?
The dream,
Exactly.
and 15 years is actually not such a long time. But I was looking at these accomplishments and I'm like, whoa, are we talking about 15 years or 50 years? Yeah, and please tell us. You graduated, and is this why you are called doctor? What did you graduate in? And tell us.
I'm a veterinarian by training. I
Okay.
studied veterinary medicine. I practiced for a few years,
Mhm.
as a veterinary surgeon, and uh, that was primarily in West Africa. And then I traveled to Europe to do some research and do some things over there. And then in the United States, while in grad school, I did, I wrote my board exams as well. But between writing my board exams and completing my grad school, and also um, getting um, joining the military, there's a story there that we'll probably get to in a different question.
Yeah.
But really, that's how I got my professional doctorate degree. And I'm not currently actively practicing right now, but
Okay.
I did practice a couple years before active duty military, and I did some veterinary work while in the Navy as well.
Okay. Tell us about the military. One step at a time.
Well, so I you might be familiar. A lot of immigrants are familiar with the process in the military process in the U.S.
Mm,
So if you come in, if you have a degree, a college degree, you can commission to become American and an officer in the American military, right?
mm-hmm,
If you don't have if you don't have a degree, maybe a high school diploma, you can enlist. But the difference really with that is if you don't have a US citizenship, you cannot commission as an officer.
mm-hmm,
If you have your permanent residency, you can enlist and then you can naturalize and then commission.
mm-hmm,
So I have to take that route because um, there were so many things that kind of guided me, that drove, I would say guided me, not drove me, to joining the military. I had to enlist because I didn't have citizenship at the time.
okay.
But I had my green card, permanent residency through marriage.
Mm-hmm,
But I got naturalized while in training,
mm-hmm,
so got my citizenship, and then a lot of things, good things, great things happened. From there. One of the things that actually made me join the military. One, I knew that my fulfillment primarily comes from giving and service to others. So, along with thinking about my family in Nigeria, because I was the first to come here, my family, I wanted uh, an opportunity that would help me bring them here so we can have the same opportunities, right? That's one. I
mm-hmm,
wanted personal fulfillment, and I knew I could get that through service, to others. And then a future for my family, trying to build a foundation here in the United States.
mm-hmm,
You have to build a solid foundation because you're gonna have children and grandchildren, and maybe after 3 generations, your great grandchildren will not even look anything like you, you know.
mm-hmm,
Um, but so it was important that I built something solid, and so that's why it didn't matter that I had a doctorate degree. I was a doctor. I enlisted,
mm-hmm,
and um, from there, I finished my time in the Navy. Not, I didn't finish my time. I spent a couple years in the Navy, and while on active duty, I commissioned as an officer to the Air Force.
mm-hmm,
Exactly. So that's how I went from Navy to the Air Force, and I did my time in the Air Force as well. And then family, personally, I try to reach a compromise. I always try to establish a balance in my family life and my work life. And the next step then was uh, to bring my family. We had traveled so much and moved to so many places. So we decided it was time for the kids to grow around family members, around their cousins and things like that. So we came down to East Coast. I switched over to the reserves and came out of active duty and became a civilian. So I became and then joined, got an opportunity, offered an opportunity in the Pentagon as an Air Force civilian. So we created Space Force in 2019, and I got promoted into a position in Space Force. That's how I went from Navy to Air Force and then Space Force currently.
mm. Wow, wow. And so much to cover in such a short time. And we should move into discussing about your book. What inspired you to write a book? And is this your first book?
No, it's not my first book. I wrote a poetry book. It wasn't nothing. It was just poetry, and that was 2009.
Mm-hmm.
and it was reissued in 2012. And then, so this is officially my second book. And this book is a memoir. And what inspired it really was in 2010 when we had our first child, my daughter. And there was something inside me that kept pushing me to start keeping account
Mm-hmm.
of how all this happened. I think I said it before. I was the first to come here, and I thought it would be important for me to have a record for my children.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 years later, we had my son. So at that point, I just decided, okay, I need to start keeping an account. I need to write something about how it all began, how I came to the United States, the things I experienced before then, what my dreams were before I came, and the things I've had to go through
Mm-hmm.
to hit those milestones. So I started doing that. But what happened while I was doing that was I got caught in a lot of emotions. For those that come from, it depends on where you come from, but with the experience I had, there was a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So it became a healing process, sort of. So I just kept pouring things out on paper. So at that moment, I didn't think of publishing it. I was just writing. So I think I wrote it to the point where, my wife took a look at my writings and she began to cry, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Never in a million years, though even though we're married, you've not told me half of these things. I didn't know you went through all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And and she couldn't begin to imagine how I could be sane and remain the way I was, even with those experiences. So, and she said, and then that was when it occurred to me that, you know what, both immigrants and non-immigrants can benefit off this story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it became literally it became a book. I wrote queries, I pitched um, my book out, and a lot of agents became interested. And so that's when I knew, okay, there was something that could be meaningful here to people.
Mm. Amazon. One comment coming from Kakas says candid, compelling, and poignant memoir. His prose is engaging, vividly depicting daily life in Nigeria and encounters with various Americans. His continuing faith in the fundamental goodness of people is particularly inspiring. What is that faith that you have in people? Do you, I mean, let's know. What do you believe that people are? With all that is going on around the world, how do you continue to believe in people?
I think it's important to understand that every human being is fundamentally good,
Mm-hmm.
but we can't help what our environment does to us sometimes.
Mm,
Learned behaviors and the things that are going on. And I'll give you an example. So I moved from Nigeria to the United States, and one of my experiences was racism, right?
mm,
I, so after a while, I learned, and my first experience with racism wasn't with a white person; it was with someone of the same color as me.
mm,
And the first lesson I learned from that was to treat people as individuals and look beyond why they might be doing what they're doing. you know. And then I look back at Nigeria. You wouldn't call that racism, right? But there are tribal, you know, wars and instabilities going on there as well.
mm,
That's a form of hate and things like that. So as I progress here in the US, I think moving from stage of my life to the next, uh, everything I experienced, good or bad, I try to understand why that's happening. And instead of returning fire with fire, hatred with hatred,
mm,
uh, I try to reach out and see if there's something good that I can pass on to that negativity and get something positive out of it.
mm,
Even when as a professional, people might think it was all smooth and well and I got promoted and it was just working fine. No, I have challenges and it's all in the book. But the
mm,
truth was, I confronted people like that, even when I felt people would had bad motives, motives against me, I would confront them and talk to them about it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're doing. This is how I see it, and I'm just trying to understand it. There might be a misconception here. Maybe that might help both of us get. And the reason why I do that, is because, and I've always gotten good results. You see people, the goodness in them will start coming out because now they've learned that I'm also a human being like them, with aspirations, with desires like them,
Mm-hmm.
with a wife, with children. I'm just trying to live my life and just be good. And it's not so difficult for them to do the same thing. I don't wish them bad. So they see reasons why they shouldn't reach me. They shouldn't mean any bad. I don't know. It depends on who you're dealing with. But uh, I think what Kekus is trying to talk about in my book was the way probably the experiences I had from Nigeria all the way till now, the people I've had experiences with that, to include betrayals and disappointments, and someone just straight up trying to out to get me.
Mm-hmm.
The way I've reached back to those people and let them know, look, I can see through what's going on here,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the right way,
Mm-hmm.
and still believe that those people can be good and something good come out of, what they're doing. And that's, I'm sure that's what they're talking about in their review.
Okay.
It's good for people. It's kind of interesting that they say that, and it's not a review that they mention something like that. I just wrote a book.
Yeah.
It's good for me to also learn that they got that from the book.
Mm. Based on the feedback that you've received, and you've received quite a number, what could you say is the most emotional part of the book, without giving it all out if you don't wish to?
Well, no spoilers, no spoilers. Emotional. Let me look at the way to put it, so I don't throw any spoiler out there.
Yeah.
I think it'll be the last chapter of my time in Nigeria,
Okay.
because that chapter was, even till now, I tried. I don't I don't like reading that chapter. It,
Mm.
it it was a chapter where I lost my dad,
Oh,
and
sorry.
it was conflicting based on my experiences and then what happened, and then how I dealt with it, and the state of my heart at that point moment with my dad, and a couple years before that, how what our relationship was like. So it was kind of complicated. But for me, writing as a son, I still can get over. I didn't realize how vivid that chapter was until I read it over and over after I wrote it, and I feel like it takes me back to that moment. The last moment with my dad. I would
Mm.
say for me, it's the most emotional chapter.
And I can imagine how it is, how emotional it is. And I'm kind of thinking at this point, isn't it interesting how good things come together with the not so good things? I mean, here you've got an opportunity to go to the land of the dreams, and then there is some pain that you're experiencing on the other side. And these things happen over and over again. What's your perspective on that?
It- my perspective is that that's called living.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
um, if we take, and the way I can describe it, think of a puzzle.
Yeah.
That children play with, and they try to fix it, right?
Hmm.
If you take one piece of that puzzle out, you'll never be able to put it together. It won't be complete.
Hmm.
So the pain we experience, the failures, the disappointments, the successes, the the applause, and all the good things also that happen, they are meant to happen.
Mm.
And those disappointments are meant to sharpen us, so that we can be better. And I think if we don't experience hardships, think about it as, if if we don't have hardships, we will never try to make something better for ourselves or anything else.
Hmm.
Because we have to travel long distances on land, we have to build cars. Because we have to fly overseas, we build. planes, and because we have to cross the ocean, we had to build ships, right? So I think those hardships drive us to make something better out of ourselves. The things I experienced, no matter how painful they were, I use them as a drive to push me to get better. Even if when I failed, I just had to take a recourse and try to veer back. You know, it didn't matter. What mattered was the goal. And I think, and when you accomplish, once you achieve that success, it will become very valuable to you. It will mean more to you because you know what it took to get there, right? And then you'll be humble about it. You will celebrate it. You will know it didn't happen because of you. It happened because of God and a whole lot of other things, people that help you to get there. So I think it's called living, and our lives become meaningful because of those hardships and the good things, you know, the successes that happen in our lives.
Oh, that's very well put. Now, at some point in your life, there is somewhere that you are promoted to be a nuclear missile operator. How 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 did you take that, and how did you see it back then, and how do you see it now, and what's your? I mean, I would like to hear about your comment on this.
Well, I think I'm sure you might be thinking that how do you go from being a doctor to operating nuclear missiles? You know, so
Yeah.
yeah. So I felt the same way when I got selected for it. So I mean, that's a job that require really high level of clearance.
Mm,
And the first thing was I felt really proud of it, but you know how when something good is happening in your life, and then there's a negative force that would tell you, no, this can't be happening,
yeah.
or it's not really going to happen.
Mm,
You know, I mean, there were times where I thought, okay, let's see if I'm going to qualify by the time they have to start going over my clearances, because now they have to interview people all over the place. They have to check my background. I wasn't born in the United States. I've lived in Nigeria and traveled to places, and that would take a lot of investigating, you know, before my clearance could go through. And then the training. Oh, I wasn't really worried about the training because I went through med school. So I wasn't worried about that, you
mm,
know. But it was more of the requirement. But I think for the most part, though, I had a conversation with, you know, for those that are religious, some people are not religious, but I am. I'm a Christian, and you know, I had a conversation with God that, you know, I wanted to go back to medical field, but you brought me back to doing it. There's a reason why you're trying to put me in this job, and I can't wait to find out. And if it works out, that means you want me to do it. If it doesn't, that means that this is just a stepping stone for me.
mhm.
But I took pride in it. I was very happy about it. I was thankful about it. It was shocking. I was really. I'm not gonna lie to you. Deep down, I was really excited because I didn't think that was it. That was possible for an immigrant, you know. So, but as soon as I did everything I was supposed to do. You know, I did everything, and I think everything else worked out because it was all in a plan. There were a lot of challenges, a lot of things that almost stopped it from happening. But for some reason, like one miracle after the next happened, you know, starting from my clearances to the age requirement, you know, to showing up to my first base, and then to medical things just started happening because they have to clear you for flight physical, which is like an intense medical clearance. All it takes is just one thing you might have, genetic stuff problem, right? That
Mm.
might be something I inherited from my dad or my mom, and that would disqualify me. So things like that. But I think the way to summarize it though was that it was all in a plan, and I embraced it.
Mm. Okay, we take that, and we are happy that you've been all through that you've been through, taking the positive and appreciating it, and maneuvering through the dark times and coming out smiling still. Now, for those of you who may be joining us right now, we are discussing the book Underground by Deji Ayoade, A Memoir of Hope, Faith, and the American Dream. And if you would please share this with all your friends so that they can get to hear what we've had today. And also go and get the book that Dr. Deji has put together. Underground. Why did you choose the title?
For different reasons, maybe, yeah, multiple reasons. I would say the first, I kind of, because this is the first time I've said this outside of my home. The original title of that book was The Anchor. Uh, so, but then, uh, as a missileer, when I was a nuclear missile operator, I worked underground. So it was like 70 feet underground, and that was our life, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of linked that to my story. And the way I can summarize that is to be underestimated. That's why I try to put it to people. To be underestimated is an opportunity. I've always been underestimated for a good chunk of my life, but they were I rather I prefer to be underestimated than for people to have too much expectations, and then because it gives me an opportunity to show that I'm capable of doing something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I try not to waste that opportunity. And then another aspect of it also is also that to always do your work in silence and let the results speak for itself.
Mm-hmm.
So when you add all of that together, the book came underground, and the best way I can, if I were to explain to to a 4-year-old kid, it would be, what does underground mean? I said, well, it means always do the work that's required of you
Mm-hmm.
and let the results speak for itself.
Wonderful. So do the work and let the results speak for themselves. That has been written. We've had so much have been accomplished in such a short time. You still look young. So how does the dream continue from here? What's in the future? What's in the plans? And yeah.
Well, I would say I think one step at a time. I think for me, when I came to the United States, the the most important thing that I prayed for, that I wanted, was to be able to bring my family here. I wanted my family to join me, for those that want to,
Mm-hmm.
that wanted to. And I was worried about safety, about security. And I knew that uh, the promises I made to my mom, especially when I was a kid, that I was going to build a life for us in the US. You know how it is when most kids want to be in the US. And for me, uh, that's what it was. For other people, my other siblings, maybe something different. And God made that happen. Once I joined the military, I naturalized. I fought for my mom. My mom joined me in the US. So that happened. And when that happened, I remembered, you know, to go back to God and tell him, you have done what I asked of you. The one most important thing I wanted was that.
Mm-hmm.
That was my dream. Now, when people think of American dream, they think of money, they think of cars, they think of all of that stuff. For me, it was finding my purpose. For me, it was my mom living the life she always dreamt of as a young lady.
Mm-hmm.
For me, for me, that at that point, it was for my siblings to live the kind of life they want to live a purposeful life.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe God answered the most important thing for me at that time. And I told him, like, everything else that happens from here on are all bonuses. You know, I'm going to keep aspiring. I'm going to keep striving to find more purpose in my life and live a meaningful life and touch other people's lives. And so I try to use that as my compass. If what I'm doing isn't impactful, I probably won't be doing it, or I'll probably stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my dream resides in that. And I think that drives what's going to always happen next, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Space Force today. I'm defending this country that I, as a result, is keeping my family safe, the safety that I wanted. I wanted security for my family because when I was growing up, I mean, you weren't, there were times where you weren't sure if you're going to wake up the following day or if you're going to live past another week, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's night and day between that and now. There are challenges here too, you know, a lot of challenges that we're going through, but I'm thankful for everything, and we see what happens next, you know. But like I said, I think I'm gonna let um, service to other people keep uh, driving what's gonna happen next.
Service to other people is gonna determine what's gonna happen next. That's for Deji. And we really appreciate you taking your time here with us, Deji, and letting us know about Underground. We encourage every person who's watching this to go and get the book or even connect with Deji. And we are going to share your website. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
So you can always go to dejiayoade.com. That's www.dejiayoade.com. Connect with Deji and also get the book Underground. Yeah, so that's about it for today. And are you still writing? Do we have a hope of another book in the near future?
uh, yes, I'm writing. I'm still writing, and yes, I'm looking forward to another book in the future. I don't know when, but it's in the works.
Oh, that's good. We'll be looking forward to hearing about that too. And now, since we've come to the end, before you go, we would like you to leave us with a few words that we should always remember. Which are they?
Well, I was still a quote from Denzel Washington.
Mm,
So he said, "Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately feel disappointment." So on the road to achieving your dream, you have to apply discipline and consistency. And that's because it takes commitment. Without commitment, he said, you cannot start. And then without consistency, you will never finish. So I thought those were powerful words. They mean me personally, they mean a lot to me. But coming from me personally to everyone, I would like you to know that without the hardships going on in your life, um, there'll be no meaning to your life. And then without all the good things that will happen as a result, there will also be no meaning really to our lives. It's just, but you will have to know what your dreams are. You know, you have to know what your dream, if it's a dream, what your dream is. And you have to know that your dream is unique to you. Do not look at somebody else's way of life or dreams and what they've achieved. That's them. You have yours. And when you know what it is, you have to find that thing that drives you. I don't know what it is for you. For me, thinking about my mom when I was growing up drove me. I love my mom and I wanted her to live a good life. Um, I love my siblings and I pictured, envisioned the future for us. Um, but then you also have to know that things do not happen um, by themselves. You hear what Denzel said. So you now have to set goals and you have to plan so you can get to where you want to get to, right? But you need to know that no matter how much you plan, you things will most likely not work out the way you plan them. Executing is a different thing entirely. So do not be discouraged when you fail. When you fail, take that as a compass, as a lesson that wasn't you weren't meant to take that route. We're supposed to do it differently. Learn from it and try a different route, but keep your goal, your dream in focus. Do not lose focus no matter what. People can do things to you, do not lose your focus. Don't get emotional. Don't get always calm down and press forward. Make sure you're moving forward. Eventually it will happen. Men can slow you down, but they can't change what will be. What will be will be. So that's all I have. Thank you very much today for the opportunity.
We thank you for this wonderful engagement. It's a wonderful conversation, and thank you for the book. Let's remember to go and get it, Underground by Deji Ayoade. And that's about it for today. You've said so much great things that we should go and follow our dreams. And our dreams should have a goal, even if it's the American dream. Hey, you there who's dreaming of the American dream, you've got to have some goals about it. Don't just wish. Have goals about it and go and get it. And remember, it's Deji who said that, and go and get his book. So thank you very much, Deji. We appreciate you, Dr. Deji. And that's about it. Bye for now. This has been your host, Anthony Morore. And together with our guest, Deji Ayode, we wish you all the best. Go after your dreams. And bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.